Hexies on the machine are so much fun. With our pre-printed leave-in foundations, they're a snap to make. The foundations are so sheer and lightweight that you really can't tell they're even there, but they give the fabric just enough stability that it will keep its shape. And once they're sewn together, you don't have to go back and take any templates out. If you've ever done Hexie quilts before, you know that once you take the templates out, the quilt loses a lot of its stability and shape. At least 4 sides of every Hexie is on the bias, so it is just naturally going to stretch and get out of shape, but not with our foundations. They're also great for doing by hand. Use a running stitch and sew on the line, and you can baste them by hand if you need something to do but don't want to work at the machine. I always have a bag with me so I can do them most anywhere, and when I get home, they get added to the machine sewn parts and you can't tell the difference. Our foundations come pre-printed and packaged. They are arranged to make the best use of your fabric. For example, the 1-inch size will yield about 140 Hexies from a half yard of fabric, so it makes it really easy to prep a lot of one color at one time. But be careful, these are extremely addictive, especially since they go so fast. Okay, today we're going to be doing Hexies. These happen to be 1 inch. That means they're 1 inch from corner to corner. And we're using our leave-in foundations. It's very sheer and comes pre-printed. So what you're going to do to start with is you're going to baste this to the back side of your fabric. For this particular one, I've cut from a jelly roll. So they're 2.5 by 2 3/4. And we're just going to baste between the broken line and the solid line. And you want to keep your foundation flat. And you're going to run it through all the way around. And then when you're done, so I've stitched it in between the 2 lines, and then when you're done, you're going to take it and you're going to cut along the dotted line. So there we have one ready to go. And now I've done all of mine for my next flower. So we're going to take the center, the purple is going to be our center, and we'll take the fabric that's going to make the first round of the flower. And you just want to put your right sides together, edges even, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and put the needle down right at the corner. And then we're just going to stitch on that line. You don't need to back stitch. Trim your threads, and there you have the first piece added. Now we'll take our second piece, and we're going to put the edges even. And you want to pull this seam allowance back out of the way, and this might be a good time to use a pin. Once you get used to this, you won't even need to pin it. And then we're going to start at that corner right there where our pin is. Put the needle down. Make sure you keep your edges even and stitch on that line. You just want to go to the end of the other line, or the end of that line, and stop your stitching. So there we have the first leg of the second piece, and then we're going to pivot it. And what you want to do is you just want to match up your edges and pull the purple one, the center one, out of the way, and pull all of your seam allowance back away. Keep your edges even. Put your needle in at the corner and stitch. So there's your seam. And then you're just going to continue adding in the same way. Okay, so we've got 5 of our pieces of the flower around the center, and we're going to add the last piece. I've got it here. The seam allowance is turned away from where we're going to sew. And we will put our needle right down there at the corner. We'll stitch the first side. Take our pin out and we're going to pivot so we can sew it to the center of the flower. You want to keep your edges even and pull the seam allowance on both sides away from the line you're going to sew on. Put the needle down right at the corner. Stitch on the line. Clip our threads. And one more pivot for the third side. Keep that seam allowance away. And now we have a completed flower, or the first round of a completed flower. And I wait to press these until I add it to my main section so that I can get the rounds all going in the same direction so that they make their, open the flower or open the seam allowance. Looks like a little flower. We have one here that's done, and we're getting ready to add the next round. And I already have it pinned in place. So we're just going to put the needle in. Stitch that one section. And once you understand this little process, and it's just basically stitching on the line and then rotating it around. Pull this out of the way and make sure that your edges are even. And then we're put the needle in at the corner and stitch to the end of the line. And there you have that seam, and then we're just going to continue to do the same thing on around here. And this is one with the second round on it, getting ready to add the background. The flowers will, in this particular project, this is the size of the flowers, and then we'll be adding the background. And then when you go to join them, it's just the same thing. You just do your seams, pivot, always making sure that you pull your fabric out of the way at the seam allowance. And then when you're done and you start joining them all, you want to press them so that you have where the 3 seams come together, it opens up so it lays very flat. So you're going to press your seam allowances in a circle. So if this one's going this way, the one on this side will go this way to make a circle. This one will go like that, and so forth. And you just keep working your way out as you add rounds or as you add whole flowers. And that's it.